Brian Dunleavy asked, is the initial viral dose related to the severity of COVID cases? And is there a known cumulative impact of repeated exposures to COVID?
Well, our group actually happens to be doing a lot of work on infectious dose, working with a group of individuals around the world on animal model studies, industrial hygiene modeling, aerobiology, et cetera. And at this point, let me just say that by far the best data we have, particularly from animal models, suggests that dose is not nearly as important as people thought as it relates to yes or no. And what I mean, I'll come back to that in a minute. Once you hit a minimal dose, it doesn't necessarily mean that more of it's going to make you more ill and less of it's not. It's all about the host and the virus. Let me just give you kind of a rough, detailed idea. If you take a young, healthy macaque and a monkey, which is the good model we're using today, and you take an older one, 12 years old, diabetes, overweight, and you give them both low dose of virus, the young macaque often shows very little, any symptoms, although they will get infected. The older macaques will get critically ill and potentially die. If you take high dose and hit both of them, the older one has the same thing all over again. The younger one now, more of them become more seriously ill. So there is a dose effect a bit there, but not to the extent that we see the big impact really being the host. So that's why you see so many young people who aren't getting seriously ill, or in that case, even recognizing more than a fever, a headache, chills, unless you have a risk factor. If you're 22 and your BMI is 38, you know what? You have a potential real chance of dying if you get this infection. On the other hand, if you're healthy, not. And if you get older and you have underlying health disease, kidney disease, cardiovascular disease, etc., your percentage likelihood it goes up substantially of having a serious outcome. So it is a combination in a sense of dose and underlying risk factors, but underlying risk factors are by far the really big factor. And that's why when we look at kids today, we have so many, hundreds of thousands of kids that have been infected. And yet when you actually look at the outcomes, and any death is a tragedy. But we're talking in the United States today, still fewer deaths from COVID-19 in young kids than we'd expect to see in an average flu season, deaths there. That doesn't make them right or doesn't make it okay. It's just pointing out that it is different in young kids, and we still don't understand completely why that's the case.